afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra. In Kumasi, we are live on Love 99.5 FM and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Kekeli Radio in Ho, Dreams FM in Bogatanga, Pad FM in Damango, Sky FM in Sunyang, and Victory FM in Aflao. You can also listen live on Spotify and myjoyonline.com app. In this edition, scores of Ghanaians and various groupings pour onto the street to join the NDC in protesting the controversial e-levy.
What we are being through, we are not going to pay anything. Nana Akufo-Addo, we will not pay,
Today, we are here as a result of some mismanagement of the economy, insensitiveness of the president.
We hear from them as the NDC describes the e-levy as regressive and one that will further worsen the plight of Ghanaians.
The budget they brought in 2021, there were other taxes which we have agreed on. But for the e-levy, it's a very regressive tax that we cannot support.
Also this afternoon, chiefs in Gomwa Jamra in the Central Region praised the multimedia group for leading efforts to construct a new school block for the community.
It's not about the yesterday journalism that we all know. This one is journalism about the challenges people are facing in their communities. And it's a plus for multimedia.
At least 6 children were killed and many more injured when a weak classroom structure collapsed during school hours 5 years ago. We have an update for you. And on a Joy Clean Ghana campaign, we'll take you to Bukom in the heart of Accra, where many continue to flout sanitation bylaws. We hear from popular resident Bukom Banku, who is calling for drastic measures to deal with the situation.
You are cooking the food for public consumption. Look at the maggot just right in front of you. And this kenke is one of the best kenke in Jamestown.
Also this afternoon, Parliament pushes for a national conversation on strategies to deal with the increasing road accidents in the country following latest crash at Insalm, which killed 5 persons.
In fact, I've had 2 accidents on that road. And I would say that it has always been as a result of indiscipline.
Stricter measures to ensure safety should be employed. Those lives cannot be lost in vain.
That's for our Drive Safe campaign. And in sports,
former Ghana international Augustine Ahimfor has raised questions about the GFA's decision to assemble 4 people for the World Cup qualifiers playoff against Nigeria. We have details in 20 minutes.
We have that and more in this afternoon's edition of the Midday News with me, Emefa. Many thanks for choosing us. We are your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Those are sounds from the Yin Tia demonstration in Accra to protest the controversial e-levy policy. The levy, since its announcement by the finance minister, has led to rigorous debates and near fisticuffs in Parliament. In an unprecedented move to get it passed, government has held several meetings to get the buy-in of the people. But there's still a groundswell of support against the e-levy. The NDC says this is opposed to the tax because it will further worsen the plight of the ordinary Ghanaian.
Given to this government. Ostensibly, what the several taxes that this government has introduced has done is to fund the luxury of the president, to fund the insatiable luxury of the president. And they think that this time around, we cannot collect money from the poor people to go and satisfy the insatiable desires of the president. When you look at the budget they presented to Parliament, almost 3.5 billion is being dedicated to the office of the president. If you want to widen the tax net, this is not the approach. We know that Ghana has a huge tax potential, so we can do more. Now let's ask this government, last year alone, how many companies did they give them tax holidays? How many companies? To the tune of how much? We are giving tax holidays to the tune of about 15 billion. Then you want to rely on 6 billion.
You agree that some of these tax, some of these tax exemptions are important, especially for the goods and services that you don't have the capability to produce. Some of these tax exemptions are important.
Let me tell you why you are grossly wrong. You are grossly wrong because when you look at the 15 billion that you are giving out 15 billion and you are going to struggle with the poor and small businesses for 6 billion. Who does that? It is only an uninitiated, inexperienced mind that will make such an economic decision. The budget was 2021. There were other taxes which we have agreed on. But for the e-levy, it's a very regressive tax that we cannot support because it's going to affect the poor and the
the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Peter Boma Otokuno. Well, some of the protesters who spoke to Join You say that tax is simply not the way forward considering the high standard of living.
Us, what we are being through, we are not going to pay anything. We don't work. We don't have anything. For how many years now? 5 years now. How many of money has entered to Akufo-Addo's account? What has he to show us? What has the youth are suffering? Nana Akufo-Addo, we will not pay. We will not pay.
Oh, I don't live in this country. I came in Germany. I came because of demonstration. I'm a fully Ghanaian. You came to Ghana because of this demonstration. Based in Germany, what? Well, I live in Hamburg. Okay. I live in Hamburg, you understand that? I pay taxes to foreigners, and I see how they use the taxes for. In my country, I pay taxes. I don't see what they use the taxes for. Maybe I can't for me. Because this is a grand TV in the history of Ghana. It has never happened before. I mean, this is a government that prior to election 2016, he promised that he's not going to base on borrowing taxation. He's going to move from taxation to production. But first fact, a government that has borrowed more than all the presidents in the history of Ghana, a government that has borrowed about 235 billion Ghana cedis, and today cannot account for.
So some protesters there. Let's go live on the ground. Manuel Cranting is there for us. Manuel, we understand various groupings joined the protest today. Run them by us. Hello, Manuel.
Yes,
well, let's go through the various groupings that joined the protest today.
So the protest was joined by folks drawn from the Concerned Direct Association, drawn from the Union of Traders Association, drawn from the Concerned University Students Association. We've also seen the Okada Riders Association also making a representation here on the ground, much among a lot of other groupings which have individual requirements, if you like, demands of government. While some are making demands on, the educational sector, there are some others are making demands on the fuel prices, and of course, chief among the demands is the controversial e-levy. We can listen to the traders as they made their demands this afternoon.
Well, so these are some of the traders who participated in that protest. We know that the General Secretary of the NDC was on the ground.
What they're essentially saying is that, in fact, for most of the traders, they say they voted for the President Akufo-Addo. But now, based on the policies that the President is introducing, they are disappointed, and most of them cannot even show their faces as known supporters of his government. And that's what they said. But also, the leadership of the NDC have been heavily represented in this particular demonstration. General Secretary Johnson who spoke to us said that the generality of Ghanaians really have shown their disapproval for the e-levy, and it goes to show that the government does not have any proper policy to run for the people of Ghana. We can listen to him also.
The problem is that the government is not credible. So what the people are saying is that this government has been playing monkey business with Ghanaians for more than 5 years now. That is the point. It's not about what they are saying. So you don't cite what liars tell you. You don't rely on what people who are not trustworthy will be communicating to you. So the problem is that
there is no trust. There is a trust deficit between the citizens and the government. And so that is why it will not serve any purpose to now be arguing based on what liars are telling you.
So if the government had demonstrated the credibility, or let's say shown or proven that they can properly handle our money and account for it, then this wouldn't have a problem with that, I believe.
That is the problem. They cannot handle monies. And they have proven so far that they have messed us up. You took an economy which was rated at B+. You came down to B, came down to B-. You are now at C. So how can you tell us that we are on the right path? So you are now coming to tell us what will be a panacea for our economic problem.
That's the General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nketia there. Well, the protest was also about the general hardship and the strike by UTAC. Here are some students who participated in the protest.
We've seen how this UTAC strike has affected students on campus. So we decided to join them to embark on this protest. Thank you. Let me speak to some of them. I'll come back to you. Let me find out from them why they're taking part in this protest. Joy99.7. Okay, tell me, why are you taking part in this?
Yeah, because we are suffering.
Suffering? How?
Yes, it's been 5 weeks now. We are not learning anything. We are just in school spending money.
We are not learning. That's why you decided to take part in this protest.
Yes, we are not learning. We need our lectures back. Okay. We need to graduate and go far. We are the future leaders of Ghana, so we need something better.
So that's why you're taking part in this?
Yes, please. Yes.
What about the E-levy?
The E-levy is so... It doesn't make sense. Assuming I'm supposed to receive something as chop money for school, only the charges will make my parents not want to send me. It's not fair.
The students are spewing out their grievances and flags to the government of the day. The students are saying that they paid exorbitant fees, exorbitant tuition fees and hostel fees, and they deserve better. All we are speaking is that we will speak up today for a better tomorrow.
Some students there who participated in that protest. In spite of this protest here in Accra, government is embarking on the third leg of the town hall meeting on this particular e-levy. We started off from the eastern region, then to the western region today. We are in the northern region, and Tamale will have its share of the town hall meeting on the e-levy. And northern regional correspondent Martina Bugri joins us on the line ahead of the town hall meeting. Martina, tell us about the mood ahead of this town hall.
The town hall meeting is scheduled to take place at 1 this afternoon. I've been engaging with some people in the metropolis to get a sense of what they are expecting. And those who have questions say it is time for them to get their response to their questions. Some who are opposed to it just say that, look, we don't want it. We are not going to make any attempt to listen to anybody. These are our reasons why we don't want it, and we insist that government must do something about it. And so it's a mixed reaction depending on who you speak to. But more of the people who think it's a good policy are people who are perceived to belong to that. If you come to groups like the NDC groups and CCC and others, they are generally opposed to it.
Okay, that's our northern regional correspondent Martina Bugri there. We'll bring you details of that town hall as it happens. We'll stay a while longer on protest. This time we turn our attention to Ada, and today hundreds of residents poured onto the streets to protest the taking over of salt mines by salt mining company Electrochem Ghana. The people chanted and held placards as they marched through some principal streets. Our correspondent Kwame Yanka joins us live with details on that. Kwame, tell us about this protest.
Okay, so leadership of the residents of communities along the Songo Lagoon are saying that government should, with immediate effect, cancel the agreement with Electrochem Ghana Limited under the McDonald Group, because the company may be mining salt in the area, but to them that's quite illegal, despite Parliament having taken all the processes to lease the area to Electrochem Ghana Limited. Well, to them, the operations of the company is more or less taking away their source of livelihood, and this must be looked at immediately. They also cited some injustices, allegations of brutality and whatnot using the state security agencies. So they believe government as well as their traditional authorities in the area are complicit in this very matter. Now, okay, so Chief of Salome and Dadipum named the second, he addressed the media and he's saying that they will do all that they can to make sure that government does the right thing by sitting on stakeholders down to discuss this whole process again to ensure that Magdan is given about 12,000 acres as initially and not over 40,000 acres as they're experiencing now.
Kwame, ahead of this particular scheduled protest, we know that we've cited a letter from Crab and Co legal practitioners directing the divisional police commander for Ada to call off this particular demonstration by the residents. Did that happen? Were they able to enforce this court order? Tell us a bit more about it.
Okay, so MFR, there was this letter that was supposed to have stopped the demonstration from taking place, but I understand as it was served yesterday, it was quite late to as it were, inform all these communities who were to take part in this very demonstration. So the police had very little to do to stop what actually took place today, but just to ensure that it was peaceful and nothing untoward happened.
Well, Kwame, in all this, though, you've been interacting with the residents. We know that they've always had concerns about the operations of Electrochem. So what exactly is today's protest about? What exactly do they want to see? Okay, so the most important part of their demonstration is to put government to ensure that government releases the area back to the families and the communities which are along the Songo Lagoon. So they are asking for cancellation of the agreement, if any at all. Only 12,000 of the 12,000 acres should be given to Magdan and not the over 40,000 given to Electrochem Ghana Limited. Okay, that's my colleague Kwame Yanka there. Let's quickly bring in the Corporate Communications and Public Relations Manager for Electrochem, Henking Ajasekojo. We're grateful for your time here on the Midday News. So it appears that this particular issue between the resident of Ada and Electrochem doesn't want to go away. Amongst others today, during the protest, they're asking that government actually cancels the agreement between Electrochem and the people there. What exactly is the way forward in this particular situation?
I'm grateful for this opportunity. So the concession was actually made to Electrochem by the government, and I trust that they submitted a petition. So let's wait for the outcome and a response from the authorities. But as a company, knowing that you operate in that particular area, and every day, day after day, we hear protests from the people against your operation, is it affecting you in any way? Okay, so let me put this on record that we know a number of people have their sort of Joy99.7 in their down community. So one of the first things we are doing is the creation of communities along our concession as some of the communities are ready, and this means the artisanal miners will be mining alongside our operations. So that their sort of livelihood is not taken away from them. That's a good way we are integrating them into our operation. Well, but amongst others, the residents, the claims that they make is that in spite of the over 40,000 acres that you have, it appears you are still eating into the concession of the residents. They claim we are still eating into their concession. Exactly. Super Hits Radio. So the concession half of the thing is 41,000 acres. And we are operating within the range. We have not been able. Well, so going forward, though, how are you hoping to resolve this particular situation, Evie? Hello, Mr. Jesse. Hello. Yes, I can hear you. Well, it appears that we have a terrible connection to Henkin Ajase Kojo, is a Corporate Communications and Public Relations Manager, Electrochem Company Limited. I don't know if we still have him on the phone, but I was hoping that you could tell us about the way forward in resolving this particular issue. I can hear her. Okay, great. Can you hear me? Yes, please. Okay, so finally, Mr. Kojo, I'm asking how we're hoping to resolve this issue going forward. Okay, so as I earlier indicated, the concession was released to us by government. So that's the concern.
grateful. Thank you very
while
much.
we wait for that and working on that, we are making
Super Hits Radio, Joy 99.7.
provision of the community.
Of Ada. Now we head to the central region where chiefs in Brema Jamra have hailed the multimedia group for leading efforts to construct a new school block for the community. 6 kindergarten pupils died when their weak classroom structure collapsed on them 5 years ago. Many others suffered varied degrees of injuries. Another school block in the same community is on the verge of collapse, and the multimedia group has been mobilizing public support to construct a new block to avert another disaster. The project is nearing completion, and my colleague Emefa Atiamwa Eli is leading that for us, and she joins us with more. She filed this report earlier.
The Multimedia Group's classroom project is tailored towards promoting philanthropy for development at the community level without looking up to the central government or donor support. The construction of a 3-unit classroom block at Brema Jamra is one of the many development projects the community needs. The initiative has since
Joy 99.7.
And let me take this opportunity to thank multimedia. It's not about the yesterday journalism that we all know. This one is journalism about the challenges people are facing in their communities, and it's a plus for multimedia. My prayer is that when this project is done, you will not just move to, is it Toron? You told us that you are doing one in Toron, you do that one and go to other communities as well.
Some of the community members have been expressing their commitment to seeing the project through completion.
It's all about leadership, so I see it as very as possible we'll be able to finish it in the 10 days. We'll have to meet our people again and talk to them.
Super Hits Radio.
The classroom project is brought to you kind courtesy the Star Ghana Foundation with funding from the Dutch Foreign Affairs Ministry. It is supported by the Israeli Embassy, Forestry Commission, the Planned City Extension Project, DBS Roofing Sheets, and you, our cherished audiences.
Well, let's join Emefa Atiamwa Eli live now. Eli, tell us about the state of the other structure as we speak.
A part of the current structure in which the children are learning actually came off yesterday. This is a pillar which is hanging loosely about. The engineer was luckily on standby and was able to whisk the children away. The structure is very, very weak. It's very, very weak as we speak. And so there's the urgent need to quickly finish what is happening so that they can be moved into that structure.
And how soon will this project be completed to prevent another crisis?
The engineer estimates 10 days, to be able to finish the outstanding block work and a couple more days to complete the roofing. And so roughly within 2 weeks, the structure should be completed and handed over to the community.
And I'm sure that if anyone listening now will still want to offer support, what's the medium for them to do so?
So whatever the donations are, that's for MTN, you can Momo 059 303 8832. Send your Momo to 059 303 8832. The name on the account is the Multimedia Group, Joy FM. The Multimedia Group, Joy FM.
That's my colleague, Emefa Atiamwa Eli. You're still listening to the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. We've been looking at that demonstration against the controversial e-levy where some Ghanaians and various groupings poured onto the street to join the ADC in protesting that. They've described the e-levy as a regressive tax and one that will further worsen the plight of Ghanaians. When we return, we have sports, and then on our Joy Clean Ghana campaign, we'll take you to Bukom in the heart of Accra where many continue to flout sanitation bylaws. We hear from popular residents President Bukom Banku, who is calling for drastic measures to deal with the situation. And later also, Parliament pushes for national conversation on strategies to deal with the increase in road accidents in the country following latest crash at Nsawam, which claimed 5 lives.
In fact, I've had 2 accidents on that road. And I would say that it has always been as a result of indiscipline.
Stricter measures to ensure safety should be employed. Those lives cannot be lost in vain.
This is the Midday News. Let's do sports. Muftau.
The Ghana Football Association has
put it down to 10 informants each, a total of 40 informants, party insiders, snowballing techniques, people who know what's been happening on the ground. Field work took place after the election. We didn't want to do anything which was going.
Technical team put together for just a Nigerian match. I think these names that you've mentioned would have been better if it was probably going to be now and then into the future. But we have just 2 games against Nigeria, and you have to put all these people together for such a match. I think it's one too many. We have put these persons together for just this Nigeria match, and they are going to meet. It's just a week. And so to put all these people together just for this match. Anyway, in their wisdom, but I think it's too many people put together for just a game. But if they are all together for the future, I think it is good. So.
Apologies for the earlier mix-up, but that was Augustine Ahimful explaining why he thinks that so many people have been appointed for just 1 game.
Well, thank you very much, Muftau. Now let's head to the court where the opposition NDC has fought off claims that Asin North MP James Chachikwesing is deliberately evading court processes. The MP is the subject of multiple legal actions that can potentially affect his stay in Parliament. He's yet to show up in court. His lawyers today informed the Supreme Court they had filed an application to challenge an earlier ruling of the Supreme Court. We've been hearing from spokesperson from the individual who's been fighting Mr. Kwesing in court, Richard Mensah. He says the MP is bent on delaying the court. But let's hear from the Director of Legal Affairs for the NDC, Abraham Amaliba.
The delay is occasioned by the court's own decision to shortchange our time period. And so we decided that we'll come by a review so that the court will give us more time to file our responses. And so there's no delay here. We are going by the rules of court, and the rules of court provide that you give the party 7 days to respond. Here we're given lesser number of days to respond.
The other issue that has come up is the fact that your client is not showing up in court. I mean, we've seen various applications against him. In this particular instance, his own application, he was not present in court again.
Not at all. Not at all. You know, he's a member of Parliament, and he's doing his work in Parliament. He goes to Parliament. He's not in hiding. He doesn't need to be here himself.
That's Abraham Amaliba there. He's the NDC's Director of Legal Affairs. It's time for our Drive Safe campaign.
Safe driving saves lives. Drive safe.
Now, safety on our roads was topical in Parliament during yesterday's session. MP for Nselma Duidri, Frank Anodompre, in whose constituency road crash Monday claimed 5 lives and left 12 others with some serious injuries, started off the discussion.
As has been pointed out by many inhabitants of Nsaom, an assessment of the situation at the Nsaom Total Filling Station intersection on the Nsaom-Kumasi stretch and the intersection of the Mobile Junction at Nsaom Township must be made for the provision of traffic lights. Subsequently, stricter measures to ensure safety should be employed to disallow trailer trucks from plying these roads. Those lives cannot be lost in vain.
Well, the Nsaom incident highlights the safety situation on our roads, and other MPs took turns to voice out about carnage on Ghana's roads.
It will interest you to know that I have been a victim of accidents on this stretch. In fact, I've had 2 accidents on that road. And I would say that it has always been as a result of indiscipline on the side of drivers on that stretch.
Every location where there's a speed hump, a market develops there.
the market is right behind where the accident happened. I think that if we choose to permit markets by the roadside, we should build embankments.
I encourage the relevant authorities, the National Road Safety Authority, to quickly establish in every district so that they can improve on the ability to educate the public.
You have there some MPs there talking about the carnage on our roads for our Drive Safe campaign. And that's it for the midday news. Apologies that I was not able to bring you the Joy Clean Ghana campaign, the train that stopped at Bukom in the heart of Accra yesterday, where some residents were found to be cooking popular staple kenke in highly insanitary conditions for public consumption. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am MFA Paul. Living Word with Pastor Mensel Tibol is up next. Many thanks for your company.
Business no a bit to say. So the projections from the first quarter show a higher total gross profit for the fiscal year. A bit me kasa say
Nana, goods not land you. It did the port right.
A bit me to say.
Here are your items. Thank you for coming.
A bit me kasa say
Yes, 2 for 10 cedi. Me no 10 cedi. 2 for 10 cedi.
What you know a bit me according and found whole business away. The beer will be your hustle wow. MTN Business made to enable your business stay ahead of the pack. Jushayen, MTNbusiness.gh at mtn.com.